The Master. The Master started as Richard Gray, a human who got dunked in massive amounts of forced evolutionary virus at Mariposa military base, which is basically liquid nightmare fuel that turns people into super mutants. But Gray's transformation went way beyond normal mutation. His body fused with machines and other organic matter, creating this grotesque blob of flesh, metal, and pure evil that can telepathically control other mutants. His whole plan was to unite humanity by forcibly mutating everyone into super mutants because he thought regular humans were too weak to survive, which is honestly the most Fallout villain logic ever. The Master set the tone for the entire series' exploration of what happens when science goes absolutely wrong, and his telepathic abilities make him unique among all Fallout antagonists. But if you thought one terrifying mutant leader was bad, his right-hand man shows that intelligence and mutation can be a deadly combination. The Lieutenant. Lou is a first-generation super mutant who retained his tactical genius after getting the FEV treatment, making him the Master's second-in-command and chief enforcer. Unlike most super mutants who become big dumb brutes, Lou kept his strategic mind and acts as the Master's mouthpiece when dealing with lesser beings like humans. He's basically proof that FEV doesn't always destroy intelligence, it just makes the smart ones way more dangerous. Lou handles all the military planning for the Master's super mutant army and serves as the primary antagonist you actually talk to before facing the Master himself. His retention of human intelligence combined with super mutant strength makes him one of the most formidable enemies in the original game. If you thought intelligent mutants were terrifying, sometimes the simple ones are way more memorable. Harry. Harry is your typical Mariposa super mutant, big, green, strong as a truck, and about as smart as one too. He got the standard FEV dipping treatment that turned him into a massive green giant. But unlike scary mutants like Lou, Harry has the intelligence of a confused child. He's famous for simple dialogue, and despite being part of an army trying to destroy humanity, he's actually kind of endearing in his childlike innocence. Harry became a fan favorite precisely because he shows that not all super mutants are evil masterminds or mindless killers. Some are just big green guys trying to figure out this whole post-apocalyptic life thing. His comedic dialogue and gentle nature, despite his intimidating appearance, made him an instant classic. Harry proves that even in a world full of horrific mutations, sometimes you get the gentle giants who just want to be friends. But the next mutant became something way more impressive than a simple soldier. Marcus. Marcus is a first-generation super mutant who grew disillusioned with the Master's genocidal vision and decided peace was better than war. Created at Mariposa, like the other early mutants, Marcus retained his intelligence and used it to become a bridge between humans and mutants, rather than a weapon against them. He became mayor of Broken Hills in Fallout 2, then later mayor of Jacobstown in New Vegas, proving that super mutants could actually lead and govern rather than just smash things. Marcus represents hope in the Fallout universe, showing that even creatures created for war can choose diplomacy and coexistence. His character development across multiple games makes him one of the most important mutants in the series. If you thought peaceful leadership was impressive, the next mutant takes stealth and insanity to terrifying new levels. Tabitha. Tabitha is a Nightkin, which is basically a super mutant on steroids with invisibility powers and severe mental problems. She was subjected to standard FEV mutation, then given constant exposure to stealth boys for covert operations, but the side effects drove her completely insane. Tabitha became the Black Queen and took over Black Mountain radio station, broadcasting rambling conspiracy theories and threats across the Mojave. Her constant stealth boy use granted near invisibility but caused severe psychosis, making her both hilarious and genuinely dangerous. She's obsessed with finding more stealth boys to maintain her condition, even though they're literally driving her crazy. Tabitha represents the tragic cost of military experimentation, a soldier transformed into an invisible madwoman. But the next Nightkin shows that madness can come with heartbreaking humanity. Lily Bowen. Lily is another Nightkin, but instead of conspiracy theories, she suffers from dissociative identity disorder that's both tragic and endearing. Like other Nightkin, she was mutated with FEV and then subjected to constant stealth boy use, but her specific psychological break manifests as conflicting personalities. She remembers being a grandmother before the mutation and still calls everyone dearie and worries about her grandchildren. But she also has a violent personality that emerges during combat. Her condition is slowly killing her, and she has to choose between taking medication that helps her sanity but erases her human memories, or keeping those precious memories while her mind deteriorates. Lily's story is one of the most emotionally complex in New Vegas because she represents the human cost of these experiments. If you thought tragic backstories were sad, the next mutant actually found a way to beat the system. Fox. Fox is a super mutant who completely breaks the rules of how FEV is supposed to work. Created in Vault 87 through their twisted experiments, Fox somehow retained his intelligence and moral compass despite the mutation process that turns most people into mindless brutes. He spent decades locked in a cell, reading books, and developing a philosophical outlook on life, making him one of the most well-educated characters in Fallout 3. Fox is also immune to radiation, making him perfect for retrieving the GECK from highly irradiated areas. His unusual response to FEV makes him an exceptional outlier among Capital Wasteland mutants, and his gentle giant personality makes him one of the best companions in the series. But the next mutant takes gentle giant energy to Zen master levels. Uncle Leo. Uncle Leo is basically the Bob Ross of super mutants. He just wanders the Capital Wasteland spreading philosophical advice and positive vibes. Created through Vault 87's FEV program like Fox, Leo somehow emerged from the process with a peaceful nature and deep wisdom about life. He doesn't attack humans on sight like most Capital Wasteland mutants, instead offering thoughtful observations about the nature of existence and encouraging people to find meaning in the post-apocalyptic world. Leo represents the possibility that super mutants can transcend their violent origins and become forces for good. His random encounters always provide a moment of unexpected peace in the harsh wasteland. If you thought philosophical mutants were surprising, the next one has an obsession that's both touching and bizarre. Strong. Strong is a super mutant companion in Fallout 4 who's obsessed with finding something called the milk of human kindness. Created by the Institute's FEV experiments, Strong was part of a group studying Shakespeare's Macbeth when you find him, which is already weird enough. His fascination with human literature and desperate search for this metaphorical concept shows that even Institute-created mutants can develop complex desires beyond violence. Strong believes that understanding human kindness will make him stronger, representing the mutant aspiration to reclaim their lost humanity. His broken English and childlike questions about human behavior make him both endearing and tragic, especially when you realize he's searching for something he may never truly understand. But the next mutant actually found a way to reverse the irreversible. Brian Virgil. Brian Virgil is the ultimate proof that FEV mutation might not be permanent if you're smart enough and desperate enough. This Institute scientist injected himself with FEV to escape the organization's pursuit and survive the deadly radiation of the glowing sea, transforming into a super mutant but somehow keeping his brilliant scientific mind intact. What makes Virgil unique is that he can actually be cured and reverted to human form if you complete his questline, making him one of the only known reversible cases in Fallout lore. His transformation was voluntary and calculated, unlike most mutants who were victims of experimentation. Virgil's story shows that science can both create and solve these problems when applied correctly. If you thought voluntary mutation was wild, the next mutant completely breaks every stereotype about his kind. Erickson. Erickson is a super mutant gun dealer in Far Harbor who decided violence wasn't his thing and became a peaceful merchant instead. Likely created through Vault 87 or Institute FEV exposure, Erickson migrated to the island and set up shop as a neutral trader. What makes him special is his love for animals. He keeps dogs, and even a tame Yao Guai as pets, showing a nurturing side that most mutants never develop. Erickson completely subverts the usual aggressive mutant stereotype by being helpful, friendly, and business-minded. He proves that super mutants can adapt to society and find their own paths rather than following their violent programming. Erickson shows that even the most fearsome creatures can choose to be merchants instead of monsters. But the next mutant took friendship and turned it into a traveling business. Grom. Grom is basically the happiest super mutant in existence, roaming Appalachia with his two-headed Brahmin buddy Chally, selling stuff and spreading good vibes. Mutated by FEV-contaminated water from the West Tech facility, Grom somehow emerged from the process with an upbeat personality and entrepreneurial spirit. He's turned his post-apocalyptic life into a traveling merchant business, complete with a loyal Brahmin companion and a genuine love for meeting new people. Grom's friendly demeanor and comic relief dialogue make him a fan favorite, proving that not all Appalachian mutants became hostile monsters. His relationship with Chally also shows that mutants can form deep bonds with other creatures. Grom proves that the best business strategy is just being genuinely happy to see your customers. If you thought happy mutants were heartwarming, the next one has a psychological condition that's absolutely fascinating. Dog and God. God is a nightkin with split personalities that represent the eternal struggle between primal instinct and intellectual control. Created through typical nightkin mutation, FEV exposure followed by heavy stealth boy use, his psyche fractured into two distinct personalities: Dog, who's submissive and brutish, and God, who's calculating and intelligent. The stealth boy psychosis manifested as this internal war between his animal nature and his desire for control and understanding. In the Dead Money DLC, you can help resolve or exacerbate his condition through dialogue choices, making him one of the most psychologically complex characters in Fallout. His dual nature represents the struggle between civilization and savagery that defines the entire post-apocalyptic world. God shows that sometimes the greatest battles are the ones fought inside your own mind. But the next mutant shows that maternal instincts can survive even the most extreme transformations. Gale is a super mutant in Fallout 76 who adopted and protects a human child named Rara, proving that parental instincts can transcend species barriers. Transformed by the FEV contamination in Appalachia, Gale somehow retained her nurturing nature and formed a deep maternal bond with this orphaned girl. Her fierce protectiveness and gentle care show that super mutants can maintain complex emotional relationships and moral values. Gale's story emphasizes empathy and emotional intelligence over physical power, making her one of the most touching examples of post-war family bonds. She represents hope that love and compassion can survive even the most horrific transformations. Gale proves that the strongest force in the wasteland isn't mutation or radiation, but a mother's love. If you thought protective mutants were tough, the next one combines the worst of both biological and technological nightmares. Frank Horrigan. Frank Horrigan is what happens when you take a super mutant and decide he's not terrifying enough, so you add power armor and cybernetic enhancements. Originally exposed to FEV by accident, Horrigan was then recruited by the Enclave, who fused power armor directly to his massive mutated body and enhanced him with advanced technology. He becomes the final boss of Fallout 2 and represents the ultimate fusion of biological mutation and military technology. Horrigan combines brute mutant strength with high-tech Enclave weaponry, making him one of the most powerful enemies in the entire series. His loyalty to the Enclave, despite being a mutant, shows how ideology can override even biological identity. Frank Horrigan proves that the most dangerous monsters are the ones who serve a cause they believe in. But the next mutant takes size and power to absolutely ridiculous levels. Swan is what happens when FEV experiments go so wrong they create their own local legend. This behemoth-class super mutant was a subject of Institute experimentation who mutated far beyond normal parameters after being abandoned in Boston Commons Pond. Swan is legendary for his immense size and his habit of attacking with environmental debris like boats, making him one of the most memorable mini-bosses in Fallout 4. He's essentially a living natural disaster that players can stumble across while exploring, turning a peaceful park visit into a fight for survival. Swan represents the unpredictable dangers of uncontrolled scientific experimentation and serves as a perfect example of why you don't mess with FEV. Swan shows that some experiments should stay buried, because when they surface, they bring boats to a gunfight. If you thought individual mutants were scary, the next group weaponized invisibility and madness. Nightkin are basically super mutants with military-grade invisibility technology and severe psychological problems. These specialized mutants were created by taking regular Mariposa super mutants and giving them constant exposure to Stealth Boy prototypes for covert operations. The side effects include near-perfect invisibility, but also severe psychosis, memory loss, and various mental disorders. Key examples like Lily, Tabitha, and God show the range of psychological damage caused by this process. Nightkin represent the military's willingness to sacrifice soldiers' sanity for tactical advantage, and their tragic instability makes them some of the most complex characters in the series. They're living examples of how war crimes can create monsters out of heroes. Nightkin prove that the most advanced military technology often comes with the highest psychological cost. But the next mutant type takes size to kaiju movie levels. Behemoths. Behemoths are what happens when super mutants get exposed to so much FEV or environmental factors that they become living buildings. These colossal mutants dwarf their already massive cousins and serve as open-world boss encounters throughout the series. Created through uncontrolled or repeated FEV exposure, behemoths lose most of their intelligence but gain incredible destructive power. They're essentially walking natural disasters that can destroy entire settlements if left unchecked. Examples like Swan show that each behemoth develops unique characteristics based on their environment and mutation process. They represent the ultimate endpoint of FEV mutation. Creatures so large and powerful, they become geographical features. Behemoths show that in the Fallout universe, bigger definitely isn't always better, especially when bigger means building-sized and angry. If you thought massive mutants were disturbing, the next creatures prove that FEV can create absolute body horror. Centaurs and floaters. Centaurs and floaters are what happen when scientists decide regular mutation isn't horrific enough and start mixing different species together. These grotesque abominations were created at Mariposa and other facilities by combining FEV with tissues from multiple organisms, both human and animal. The result is nightmare fuel, creatures that look like they were designed by someone having a fever dream about anatomy textbooks. They often serve as pets or guards for super mutants, creating these disturbing family units of monsters. Centaurs and floaters symbolize the absolute worst consequences of unregulated bioweapons research and represent the series' exploration of how science without ethics creates horrors beyond imagination. Centaurs and floaters prove that some scientific experiments should never leave the drawing board, let alone the laboratory. The forced evolutionary virus has created an entire ecosystem of mutants, from philosophical giants to invisible madmen to living nightmares. Most mutations happen through forced exposure to FEV in various forms, whether it's being dipped in vats at Mariposa, exposed to gas in Vault 87, or drinking contaminated water in Appalachia. The virus was originally designed to create super soldiers, but instead created a diverse population of beings ranging from gentle merchants to genocidal masterminds. What makes Fallout mutants special is their individuality. Each one represents different possibilities for humanity's future, whether that's transcendence, tragedy, or absolute horror. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every Fallout protagonist explained, click the video on the screen.